My grandpa was a pharmacist, my dad was a pharmacist, all my aunts and uncles. So I went off and became an aerospace engineer. Like literally the furthest thing I could find from being wellness and pharmacist. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and one day I'm at home at dinner, and he tells a story of a
feel good company, and then I looked up your background on LinkedIn and I was impressed. I said, wow, this guy's definitely running a passion project. Looks like he comes from a family of entrepreneurs. So right, he's got something to prove. And he signed up for kind of the safe route, which is engineering, right? Exchange your time for money. And he threw that all in and kind of said, no, I'm going to take a bet on myself and bet on what I believe in, which is totally different. So I love that, and so that's what got me curious about you. And so I reached out to you, and, as it should happen, it's like, yeah, let's just jam and get on here and not set it up or make it pretentious. Let's just chat. And so thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to, that's a brief intro, but what I want to do is I'll give a proper intro we'll bring into this, but I'd love for you to kind of I'll put the floor over to you, Ryan, and maybe give a little insight for the viewers of kind of who you are, or what you do, and how you got to where you are right now, what you guys are focused on.
Yeah, well, so I'm Ryan Gresh, founder and CEO at the Feel Good Lab, but everything we do here at the Feel Good Lab started with my dad. In fact, it started with my grandfather. And I'm going to give you a little bit the longer version because I think it's relevant here. So my grandpa was a pharmacist, my dad was a pharmacist, all my aunts and uncles, my younger brother Mike. That's the family business.
Oh wow!
But when I grew up, my dad he bought his first pharmacy here in Connecticut the year I was born, 19. It was going great, but all of a sudden in the 90s, the pharmaceutical model changed. He was no longer helping people. He was basically just giving pills to treat symptoms. The margins got compressed because Walgreens and CVS were taking over. There was really no room for a family-owned local pharmacy anymore. And we've seen that now.
Yeah.
So he was miserable. He was working 24/7. He never came to my basketball games, right? And so what I saw out of my dad, I'm like, I only saw him when I went to work with him for the most part. I'm elaborating a little bit, but I was like, I want nothing to do with this. So I went off and became an aerospace engineer. Like literally the furthest thing I could find from being wellness and pharmacist.
Yeah.
Where it's so cool, though, the reason I tell that story is it came full circle. He realized that, and we talk about pivots and flip the switch. He flipped the switch more than I ever could. He sold his pharmacy in 99 and opened up the nation's first combined functional medicine practice with compounding pharmacy. This is early. Nowadays, both those things have... a lot of people know. I'll give some context. So compounding pharmacy is, imagine 100 years ago what a pharmacist did. They didn't just count pills. They made their own medicine. When you make your own medicine, you can determine the dosing, the delivery method, the other ingredients. You can be much more personalized. So it's really all about personalized medicine. So that's amazing.
That's
but
right.
The functional medicine took things up times 10 because that is, in Western medicine, it's mostly treating symptoms.
Yeah.
And the tools that we have are mostly treating symptoms, most of the pills. Like as an example, ADD, we don't have a Ritalin deficiency. So what it is there are nutrient deficiencies and different deficiencies in our body. And his whole goal with functional medicine is to relentlessly identify those root causes. It takes time. It's not easy. It's also part of the reason why Western medicine has moved this direction. We kind of want those quick fixes. But if we can identify in our lifestyle, in our diet, in our nutrition, what are the things that we're lacking based on our genetics and our personal self, and we can make those modifications, we can actually treat those diseases from the root cause. And that's real treatment. So when I saw him do that, in fact, my brother Mike, 6 years younger, saw this new version of my dad. Well, of course, he follows in the family footsteps, becomes a pharmacist, runs the family pharmacy with my dad every day. And I saw the same thing, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And one day, I'm at home at dinner, and he tells a story of a product which happened to be our natural pain cream, which I'm holding in my hand right here.
Yeah.
And there was a patient that called back the pharmacy in tears because this plant-based product that could be sold over the counter was the first thing that ever worked for her chronic pain. And I didn't know anything about the space other than hearing stories and whatnot.
And your dad, you guys had created this.
He had developed this totally at the pharmacy for people that just nothing was working.
Yep.
And I decided right there, like, Dad, we need to create a brand and bring the work you're doing in our local community in Connecticut out to the world. And that was where the Feel Good Lab was born. And so my mission is, I'm an engineer and I love creating new things, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have the ultimate innovation expertise with my dad and brother every day. So I take the greatest things they're doing at the pharmacy, and then I bring them through the brand, the Feel Good Lab, and I work on the marketing and the sales and the execution of that.
That's awesome. How did your dad receive that when you told him you were going to change directions?
Oh, well, it's funny. Working with family has been the greatest thing ever, and he is my hero, my support system, all these great things.
Yeah.
But there's something funny that happens. I had this too because I've tried some different businesses. Everybody thinks their piece of the puzzle is more important. Now, having a great product and great products is like it is table stakes in this space. You
Yeah.
need stuff that really works. However, we thought that that was enough. I even thought it was enough. Like, oh, Dad, you created this great product. You own most of the company in the early days. We didn't realize that that's just getting on the playing field, and creating a great business is 99% of the game. The marketing, the sales, the distribution, and all those pieces. And so we've learned that. That's why we're going to be a 6-year overnight success.
I don't know if you know my background. So my background is building product management teams outside of the coaching, but that's what I've done for the last 12 years. All we focused on was that area that you're focused on, is making sure companies got it right around product management, that whole function, because it doesn't matter how good sales, innovation, your CEO, your investor money comes in, unless you have a product, you don't have a company, period, end story, right?
Totally.
So it's critical. Great product here. Now you come in, engineering background, tying into the business acumen of the family. I think one of the things that really stands out is you guys taking kind of that digital first approach in the wellness and beauty industry, which is really cool, right? When you get a product, you're like, hey, we're not all things to everyone, but this is what we do. And then you want to go out there and share that. Can you break down for us how the Feel Good Company digital marketing model works and what makes it so effective in making sure that you guys are reaching that target audience?
So you bring up a good point. I struggle with this because I'm not a marketer, but I've learned to become one, and we're learning every day.
Yeah.
So hopefully a year from now,
Same
I have
here.
a much different answer, right?
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, we have two demographics, and they are completely different. We sell to them completely differently, and that's one of the biggest challenges because
Yeah.
as a brand, our job is to really communicate effectively. But I'll give you my two demographics. You're going to laugh. Battle and Barbara is 65 years old, lives in Kansas, and has had arthritis for the past decade. She doesn't think anything will ever work for her. And when she calls me, she says, Rye, I just want more good days. I don't want you to heal my pain. I just want more good days. Everything I've tried doesn't work. I don't think I'll ever live another day pain-free for the rest of my life. She is not getting sold to on TikTok and Instagram and digitally. In fact, if I run a Facebook ad where she's on social media, she gets angry and comments, how dare I, right? That's her. My other demographic is Healthy Heather and Mobility Michael. So you're more Mobility Michael, like guy that really wants like cutting edge, optimized performance. And Healthy Heather is a 40-year-old mom that just wants to have health and wellness for her family, her parents. She's super in tune with the latest trends, but she doesn't really have time. So we have these different problems, these three different people we serve, and I know this from the data of selling to them, but our number one customer is Battle and Barbara. She's the one buying the natural pain cream week after week after week and saying like, this is the only thing that's ever helped me. So how do we sell her? We're a young, modern brand of wellness, plant-based medicine.
Yeah.
We way more resonate with the other two. Mobility Michael and Healthy Heather are like, oh my God, I've been looking for you forever. Battle and Barbara says, I don't care if it's plant-based, does it work?
Yeah.
So the way we've really grown the business the most is mainstream media, like old school stuff, QVC, Good
Oh,
Morning
really?
America, different like
That's where they are.
mainstream TV channels. That's
Yeah.
where they are, and it's worked incredibly well. It took us 5 years to learn that. We were running Facebook ads and spinning our wheels, and finally the epiphany came out like, why don't there's not figuring this out. They don't want to be sold here. Where
Yeah.
do they want to be sold? Well, there's a reason why if you watch ESPN, Fox, or CNN, doesn't matter which channel, you're going to see pharmaceutical companies advertising. And to be honest, you're going to see a lot of topical pain relief companies advertising.
Totally. Yeah.
That traditional old school marketing, which is going to go away, and we need to make sure that we're ready when the paths cross.
Yeah.
But right now, that's where she wants to be sold.
Wow. I mean, how you guys, so 5 years, right? People think business, like when you said earlier, yeah, we're going to be a 6.5, 7-year-old success. People don't realize how much failing forward happens in a new business, especially when it comes down to, okay, we have a product, we have a business, we know our audience, now let's just go make them an offer. Well, that becomes pretty expensive.
It does. And honestly, it's something I need to get better at because, like, I'm the type of person that likes to sit back and come up with the plan and perfect the plan. But the reality is the best entrepreneurs I know, and I know some incredible ones, they don't do that at all. They come up with an idea, they test it,
Yeah.
They A/B test it. They get the market to give them the answer, and then
Yeah.
they iterate with more testing. And so by the time I'm done with my plan, they've already gotten the market to confirm and improve their original idea.
It's so true. Yeah, I've hired coaches my whole life, and I was just on a podcast this morning with one of my coaches, and the same thing we talked about. I was like, one of the things you gave me was, Dane, you think too much. Do less thinking, do more doing. Sometimes you could be too smart, and that's me, perfectionist, wanting to get it right, and that falling forward was something that in this business I had to relearn again because over 14 years I mastered the recruiting and headhunting game, right? So it was like, okay, how do we fall forward here? In marketing and sales and all that stuff was like, all right, this is coloring outside the lines, but kind of finding your own rhythm to it. So you guys do that. So you got these two markets, right? One of them is me, and that's right. Like soon as I hit 40, I can tell you one of the first things that I started noticing was all of my joints just achy. First, it was because I had inflammation, lots of inflammation, which most guys have. Most of my clients almost always come to me at a plateau with inflammation, and it's always these elbow, tennis elbow, right, wrist. But then once you kind of get rid of that inflammation and you train, you still get it, right? So that's a great market, like guys like us. The
And
other market
inflammation is our enemy. As a brand, the one thing that connects all our demographics, our brand is all about reducing out of control inflammation. The inflammation response is absolutely necessary, keeps us alive. The problem is in today's society, we have a low level inflammatory response and it's an epidemic. And it's coming from our food supply, it's coming from the toxins in our environment. Our body our immune system is always fighting everything. So that when we do get sick, the immune system's like, I'm over here fighting a battle and you just got COVID. Like, I don't have time to go deal with that, right?
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. So then you guys, I mean, you're doing a great thing, right? Like, that's what I loved about the product, right? It's like, okay, this solves a real problem. Now your problem as a business owner is getting it to the masses and to the right masses. You come in, you implement a digital marketing strategy. Do you also incorporate, because we were talking off camera, you have a partnership and an equity owner and one of the UConn basketball players. That's an influencer program, which is probably a third level of how's that going? Who came up with that idea?
Yeah, so that one's unique, but I'll tell you this. I'll come to Cam in a second, and he's been amazing to work with. So really, our influencers are people like you, Dane. So you work with people one-on-one that trust you.
Yeah.
So as an example, we have probably the best tool we have in our toolbox right now is our food inflammation test. So we do have products that help support inflammation, but this identifies what foods in your diet are causing inflammation. And ultimately, more important than reducing inflammation is finding out what's causing it.
Yeah.
Way more important. If we can nip it in the bud, now all of a sudden we're going to be way more effective. So that test has been incredible. Well, how do we get that out there? I mean, it's not the cheapest test. It also takes some understanding. We work with people like yourself that take this, see amazing improvements in themselves, and then are able to really be the catalyst to explain it to the people that trust them. Mm-hmm. So we want to find those trust influencers. We don't want an influencer that's basically getting likes and clicks, because they're fun to look at. We want somebody that's building trust, credibility, and does things 100% authentically. We would never work with an influencer that's like, hey, pay me to do this before they've even done it.
Yeah.
We're like, if you say that, you're not our guy. If you say, hey, could I get a discount on this? I'd like to try it. And then if I like it, we can talk about a partnership. Done. Those are the people that we partner with. So that test is a good example because it's really started to gain a ton of traction. And what's funny about it is we actually have a new demographic. I gave you my 3 demographics, but this demographic of young 18 to 22-year-old girls, like in the wellness space.
Okay.
They love this test.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
And so influencers are getting dead.
I didn't see the whole interview, but that's what she was talking about. And I said, wow, my clients have the same problem. Like the inflammation, they have no idea. We don't pinpoint it enough. We pull everything out and we flush it. But I love the concept of there are things that continue to inflame people that are healthy and they have no idea.
Well, the thing is, too, every single person we've tested, I had a phone call just as I was walking in to hop on with you. Every person we've tested has a healthy food, like a super healthy food.
Yeah.
That in their body is very likely causing inflammation.
Yes.
Everyone's unique, and that's why there's no one size fits all. It's not like everyone should do carnivore or paleo, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody's unique. You need to find out what works for you. That's really what this test is all about.
I love that. I mean, literally real world challenges. Guys will come to me at different levels. Some are 30% fat, right? We got a lot of work to do just outside of the inflammation. But then where the real critical part is, the guy that's 1 to 100, like myself, right, has always been on it, has discipline, successful in business, just hasn't been able to put the pieces together in their health and fitness journey. That person is super committed to the process of becoming healthy. And so they align with the products that they feel like, okay, hey, this aligns with who I'm trying to become. And a lot of these guys aren't trying to get on pills and medication and continue throwing things at it. They've got this awareness that, hey, I need to solve a real problem, and I don't want to do it with something that is foreign, right? And
So to answer your question, though, so talk about Cam. So this is a new one for us.
Yeah.
Right. Cam is more of an awareness play because people don't follow UConn basketball and Cam Spencer because they want to understand what he's eating and the things he's doing to improve his health and wellness. Most people are just basketball fans.
Sure.
But we're a Connecticut-based company. We're really proud of that. And we're also passionate about UConn basketball. So we got introduced to Cam and some of the teammates this summer. Our goal was just to help them. Hey, if you guys want some help with your recovery, your performance, we're here as a resource. Well, Cam's the type of guy that takes everything so serious. He said, you have a food test that can help me identify what foods in my diet are potentially holding me back from that extra 1%? I want that.
Yeah.
So, so we worked with Cam all summer and 6 months go by and we became friends. And next thing you know, he's the face of the number one team in the country. And we said, you know what? Okay, we never intended to try to do an awareness play, but we said, let's take advantage of this. He's a genuine partner, believes in what we're doing. He doesn't even have social media, so the UConn fan base didn't even know about him. So we had a unique opportunity to really tell his story.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do a little deal with him where we could tell his story and really be forward-facing with our partnership. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. UConn Nation has really gotten behind us, and now they love him so much, so the brand is kind of put on that pedestal of well, if Cam's, he takes it so serious if he works with these guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he does his due diligence, right? He's the type of guy. I'm from Connecticut. You know that. We talked about that off camera. Huskies are everything. People ask what, I'm like, Huskies, it's everything. Not the Knicks, the Huskies. That's what we live for in Connecticut, especially basketball season. That's a game changer, man. That inflammation test is a real good game changer because when you're stuck at that 12 to 15%, a lot of the time you're eating healthy foods, you're regimented, you're disciplined, but you're inflamed and you have no idea.
Right.
And
the out of control inflammation is the root cause of almost all degenerative disease. And this is me channeling my dad, right? I'm not the medical professional, but it is. And that is the thing that in our, modern society that we need to really identify, because if we don't, if you look at the chart of different autoimmune disorders and different mental health things, things are going up and to the right, not in a good direction. It's not just our food. But our food, in my opinion, is probably the main culprit because, like Socrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We've gotten so far away from that, and we've taken healthy food and we've made it unhealthy.
Yeah, I know. And there's a lot of undoing there. So you guys are leading that pace. So you come up with the Feel Good. What a great name. Even love the merch.
Yeah.
Was it the first product? Was it the pain relief? And then how do you guys have a process for going out and creating these new products, where somebody says, hey, you know what? This is next.
Yeah.
Now we need to attach the inflammation problem.
So the first thing was my dad's got this amazing product. We say, okay, how do we create a brand? And we looked at this guy, Simon Sinek. He has Start With Why, I believe it is. It's an amazing 5-10 minute TED Talk. It's like the way Apple communicates, right? Apple's not like, we've got XYZ processor, buy it. They're like, we like to challenge the status quo and think different. They start with the why, then they get to the what. And the why for us is that people just want to feel good. And we want to create a brand around that. So the Feel Good Lab, clearly, once we said that name, we were, ideating. We're like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah,
Boom.
immediately.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite things about doing this. There's been plenty of hardships and reasons where I should have quit.
Yes.
Literally that stupid name.
Yeah.
It's kept me going through some of the craziest things. And it might sound silly to people, but there's something really special. The brand is more than the sum of its parts. My dad and the innovation and the branding and the name. But to answer your question, how do we come up with new products? Our motto is fighting pain with wellness. What that means is we have a product, our natural pain cream. It's a better BioFreeze, better ICI in our opinion. Those are great brands, but they're just different. High menthol, they freeze your arm off. They don't really specialize in the plant-based ingredients that can help identify the root cause and be delivered right through the skin. So we have a nice differentiator, and we want to be the modern version of them. If we just focused on the topical pain stuff, we could build an incredible brand. But that is not how you fight pain. You
Yeah.
fight pain with wellness. Battle and Barbara doesn't want to hear this, but we're working so hard to educate her, convince her of the value of this. If she can improve her diet, improve her nutrition, improve all aspects of her health,
Yes.
this is the functional medicine wheel, she will not need our pain cream.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So our
We're not
brand,
here to keep you for a lifetime. We're here to get you on the right path.
as a brand, fighting pain with wellness, it's really all about identifying those other areas of our health. So, and what's so cool is my dad and brother are like 5 to 10 years ahead of where we're going. But I'm seeing things that they're doing in the pharmacy and functional medicine practice, and I cannot wait to bring them out underneath the Feel Good Lab. Right? Things like genetic testing, micronutrient testing, organic acid testing, really taking this personalized approach,
Oh, yeah.
because there is no one size fits all to pain relief. There's no one size fits all to wellness, right? And that's why somebody like yourself, Dane, is so important. You're working with an individual person. So you need to identify their motivations, their fears, their body, all of these different aspects that are going to go into your ability to help them understand what they can do
Yeah.
to really be the best version of themselves. And that's the same goal that we have.
Yeah. You're fixing the root, you're not focused on the branches. You're focused on the roots.
100%.
Right? Like, let me show you where this went sideways and let's plant it properly. What's really cool about your story is, one, the history, right? It goes back, but it's the evolution of the history, right? That each generation came in and looked at the past. It didn't just say, okay, let's continue, but how do we do it better? How do we take the new data, the new environment, the new consumer problems and create something better versus, hey, we're just popping out pills here, man. This is just what we do. We just put Band-Aids over things. But you guys were the rarity that said, hey, we're going to go out and actually solve the root of the problem for the customer. And if we do it really well, they're not going to be a customer anymore, and that makes us happy.
100%. And then we see how that affects our local community, because now we have a reputation where
Solving problems.
100%. Yeah. It's like that old show House, it's like, and that's what my dad does every day. I give him so much credit. He's spending sometimes hundreds of hours on certain patients, looking at the biochemistry and all these different aspects. And it's hard work. Now with the advent of AI, he's going to have the ability to take that 100 hours down to 10 hours, right? As things progress. So we're going to see an amazing elevation of the type of work that he's doing over the next couple of years.
Yeah. So he's going to be leveraging the AI, which can be really, really scary in a good way. You can really, if you bring it into your business for the right reasons, you can really escalate and put some gas.
I mean, because I'm scared of it, to be clear. Like, I really don't use it much. I think that there's two pieces. For me, it's going to be really important to have a human-based, authentic brand.
Yeah.
And I really don't use AI as much as it would up-level everything that I could do. Because I just believe in 5 to 10 years, from a brand perspective, it's going to be so much more important to be human, to be real. And I don't, as much as AI can help me today, I think it's going to hurt me tomorrow. It's like the example, people that only have driven on GPS have no idea of directions. In fact, the other day I lost my phone. I had to go pick it up, and I realized I didn't know how to get 2 miles away. It was like 5 different streets. I had to go on MapQuest or Google Maps and map out the route, and I realized the technology has made me dumber when it comes to my sense of direction.
Yeah.
AI is going to have a similar effect, and I'm scared of it. But there are obviously areas, just like with GPS, that has made our life better. So we just have to balance it.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. So you're looking forward, right? You give me an idea of kind of where you guys have come from, where you're at now. You've got great innovation. That's kind of this lab that's constantly looking to solve new problems. Branding is getting, looks like you're expanding the way that you're impressing the brand upon people, which is a good way. So for you, as this relentless problem solver that I see you as, what's the one challenge that you faced in building this company as you come in, maybe the biggest challenge, and how have you overcome that?
There's no doubt about this. Focus.
Staying focused.
Yeah, because listen, if I pick one thing to do great over the next 5 years, I'll do it. I promise you. All of us can do it. If you pick one thing and you give yourself enough time, you can be absolutely world class at that one thing.
Yep.
I have shiny object syndrome like most entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I get excited about stuff. Now, here's an important part. I need to balance, because that excitement fuels me. So when I just focus on one thing, so the reason I quit aerospace engineering is because I thought I was going to design helicopters, and the reality was I was designing a bolt for 6 months. So like I
Nothing
didn't
left.
know, and that I had to run far away. I'm like, I don't sit down at a computer for 6 months designing a bolt.
Yeah.
I need to do, but there's a reason why it takes 6 months to design a bolt in a helicopter, because that thing can never fail. It needs to be world class at what it does.
Yeah.
So there's a balance between those two things. And I think Bill
Okay.
Gates has this quote. I think it was like Warren Buffett and him, and they were asked like, what leads to your success? They both said the same thing: focus. You just have to stay focused, and you can't get deterred when things get tough.
Yeah.
So I just believe that I'll only fail if I quit, and if I stay focused on those couple of things that really matter, then we're going to succeed in the end. And that's what kind of motivates me right now. Like for this next year, what my goals are in the next 5 years, it's literally doing exactly what we have today in the brand, just better. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe we launch some other products under the pain relief line, under the testing line, under the supplement line. But we're not losing track of exactly who we are, what makes us great, why people love us, and we're just focused on making those things better.
That's great. It's so true, man. I've had that own when I started this coaching business. To relate it, I had 3 coaches, and boy, did that fuck me up. I had 3 different strategies, 3 different game plans. I was always looking for the shiny red apple versus like one. They all would have worked, but if I just would have picked one and kept it simple, singular focus, and I learned that after 90 days, like, hey, I'm scattered, and this is just kind of staying busy in the same spot.
100%.
Yeah. So that's great, man. So you have these products, you have a vision, customers all over the U.S. Are you shipping to Canada? Are you shipping overseas?
We do a little bit. In fact, I had a message today on my chatbot on the website like, hey, can you ship to me overseas? It's so expensive, so it's not really worth it. We did just get approved for our pain relievers in Health Canada, so like they're FDA. Because
Okay.
our products are FDA registered, so they're basically treated as a drug. We can make claims against arthritis, back pain, etc. But now, because of that, we can't necessarily ship to everywhere. So it depends. Like we're working on some international stuff now.
Yeah.
But our focus, like we have so much untapped potential in the United States. So the nice thing about international is it's like that next level of growth. Again, once we stay focused
Yep.
on what we have here. Now, I have an opportunity that came to me of like a big market over in Asia. So I'm entertaining it.
Shiny red
But,
apple.
but like I definitely like got to take my own advice, right? Like we need to absolutely be the best brand in the United States that we can be. Then the rest of the world will follow.
Yeah. And do you this year? What's your big target this year? What's got you focused and excited?
Well, the thing that's got me focused is our revenue target and hitting profitability. It's really hard for a brand like ours in consumer goods to be profitable and still scale.
Yeah.
So we more than doubled revenue last year, but we improved profitability exponentially, and the same for this year. By focusing on profitability, I don't have a gun to my head. I don't have to go raise money to continue to grow, which is hard.
Yeah.
Typically, it requires so much capital in our space to grow. Now, when we go to retail, we're gonna have to raise like $5 million. Like retail's no joke. We've done some testing there. It is so hard. We may decide we never go to retail, even though I don't think that's the case.
So retail might be is in the cards potentially.
Oh, no doubt, because if you look at the case study with BioFreeze, so take out the wellness stuff we do and why we're different.
Yeah.
Just take our natural pain cream and our sport recovery lotion and say, oh, that's like a better BioFreeze I see. Well, how do they make all their money? BioFreeze just sold for $1.2 billion. Billion. Why'd they do that? Retail. They went 9 million, 27 million, 81 million, 3 years growth. Boom. They get bought up by a big conglomerate for 1.2 billion. So like just the topical pain space, I mean, we could just, again, and you could argue as a business, man, it would be smarter, Ryan, for you to just focus on your topical products. Make yourself you have the path to be $1 billion brand with just topical products. I'm not saying we're BioFreeze. They're incredible from a branding execution position, but we could be. And we're the more modern version of them. Now, this you say, so this answers your second question. What am I most excited about? I'm most focused about that. Most excited about all the other things that my dad and brother have going on that we get to trickle out at the Feel Good Lab. The stuff that's like our food inflammation test. It's for only 5% of our customer base. The rest of people that want to keep eating what they're eating is fine. We're not going to try to change their habits until they're ready.
Yeah.
But the 5% of people that are, we can change their life. And we have other tools that we're going to be able to bring on that are going to be able to 10x that.
That's great. So now I'm a customer. I want to get the test. I buy the test. You ship it to the house. What do I do?
Yeah, so we send it to you. You do a finger prick. It's really simple. Literally takes a couple minutes. Drop a couple blood spots on a card. You mail it into the lab. 10 days after the lab receives it, they give me back the full report. That report's going to have a hierarchy of inflammatory foods, And if you do the 132 or the 176 test, that's the number of foods that we test.
Okay.
We're going to also look at leaky gut. Leaky gut is another epidemic. So we have a gut barrier panel where we have 8 markers. So what we'll do is then you'll schedule a call with myself. Hopefully one day we scale so much where I can't afford to do this. And we're close to that, actually. We're pretty close to that. So you and I hop on a call. I give you the results. We talk through what you're dealing with, how we can improve that. And then basically you'll do an 8-week elimination diet. So all the foods that are coming up as the top inflammatory burdens for you, we're going to cut them out for 8 weeks. We're going to reintroduce them after that 8-week period, one food at a time. And that's when your body, I'll give you an example with me, gluten and dairy off the charts. I knew it. Pizza didn't make me feel good, but it was my favorite food.
Yeah.
I cut out pizza for 8 weeks and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was sick because I was sick every day. Like
that's
my
right.
stomach and whatnot. So I felt so good. Now, I did a few other things, but cutting out the food was by far the biggest thing. Now, 8 weeks in, well, what do you think? I'm like, well, I can't wait to have pizza again, right? I have pizza again, and I was like, had the flu almost. Like, that's how much it knocked me out. And it was my body's way of like telling me, this food is not good for us. Not everybody has that reaction with gluten and dairy. For me, it was off the charts. Again, I knew it, but when I was sick every day, it was like a 5 out of 10.
Well, you knew.
When I reintroduced it, it was like a 10 out of 10.
Wow. That's my wife last night, she's been itching and she's been doing this research trying to figure it out. And we're like, I bet you're having an inflammatory reaction to something. And she isolated last night. She's like, I think it's gluten. So it's like, well, if I had the test, I'd give it a test because I think it's gluten. She's itchy. And I too, I've gotten into bodybuilding, so I've cleaned up my diet. But I was one of these guys going into a bodybuilding competition. I was still super clean, but I ate healthy things. And my coach came and he said, man, you're all inflamed. I'm like, what do you mean I'm inflamed? I'm 10% body fat. Like I've been training for 3 years. He's like, now there's some things in your diet that are causing inflammation. And he gave me some examples. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, let's pull them out. And so we started pulling things out and it miraculously felt great. I had pizza 6 months later. Same thing. I was like, felt like shit. I was like, I used to eat this once or twice a week. Like you were not taking pizza out of my life. I'm from Connecticut, so pizza's like
it's pizza capital of the world, baby.
Yeah, it's part of everything you do. So so I maybe have pizza once a year because it just doesn't sit well.
Totally, same thing. We are what we eat, and we've been treating food as a drug. It's in our culture. Listen, I love going out to eat and eating good food. Is it worth it? I think we take this short-term excitement and whatever, and you basically the long-term effects, it's not worth it. We know that. If we have hindsight, I think we'll all understand, especially God forbid we're on our deathbed and we look back and say, wow, like some of this stuff I could have done better. And I think part of the work you're doing and certainly the work we're doing is to try to help. It's not as simple as like convincing somebody of that. They need to convince themselves of that.
Yeah.
Right? But our job is to just hold their hand throughout the process.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's the same belief that I have. I said, I'm not in here to convince people to work out. If you don't know that you need to work out, that's a whole nother conversation with a whole other individual. I'm here for the people that know they need to do it and they just need to figure out how to make it happen. And same thing here. It's like, I know I have pain and know I need to solve it, right? I need somebody that's reliable. And that's you guys. So Connecticut guy, love this story. I love that the brand's coming out of Connecticut. And I love to hear that Connecticut people are championing it, right? And you're growing. I have some connections for you maybe on the digital side that might help you, but then also from the capital raising side, anybody that's watching this, we've got VCs and investors that are clients, both from the headhunting firm and from dad bods, right? So if this resonates with anybody, he's going to be raising some money soon, so keep an eye on them.
Yeah, we're actually raising a little bit of money right now to bridge the gap. And not a ton, but if anyone's interested, obviously you can share my contact info.
Yeah. Where can they find you and Feel Good Company?
The Feel Good Lab is just thefeelgoodlab.com.
Yep.
You can find me, on all the social channels at Gresh Air or Ryan Gresh, LinkedIn. And then my email is ryan@thefeelgoodlab.com. I absolutely love connecting with people. I had a phone call today from a customer, and that's one of my favorite things. I'm holding up here for people listening, not watching, but I have these handwritten notes from customers on my desk. And people come in and my office is pretty clean. They're like, what do you have these notes out? Because this is what motivates me. It's when somebody takes the time to write you a handwritten thank you note that you've changed their life. Here's one of the coolest things. The placebo effect used to petrify me. Talk about fundraising. I'd go to these fundraising events here in Connecticut. get up there, pitch, think I gave this great pitch, and people in the audience would be like, "You're nothing but the placebo effect." Because some people get pretty offended when you start to make these claims that you can really help people, especially people that have dealt with this themselves. It triggers something. So, anyways, I would deal with that all the time. A room of 100 people, a couple people are going to be kind of coming at me, and I would just like go into my shell, and I was so nervous. I'm like, "Well, we're not the placebo effect." Okay, now I take it a different way. First of all, we're not the placebo effect. We have thousands of reviews, incredible feedback, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
At the same time, the placebo effect is the most powerful tool we have in medicine. Bedside manner is a real thing. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're typically right.
Totally.
And our number one job as a brand, I told you this earlier, our customer calls me and says, "Ryan, I've tried everything. Nothing will work for me ever." If you believe that, I can't help you. So our job as a brand,
you're telling yourself you're going to, no matter what the solution is, you're going to convince your body and
you're going to convince your body that it's just not going to work. And so if we can give people hope, it's our number one job. Give people hope. The products will work themselves out whether they work for you or not. But if we give you hope, even without our products, we can change your life more than any product can.
Totally. Totally true, man. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And I look forward to kind of continuing our relationship together. Is there anything you want to share with the people before we go that we haven't covered today?
The only thing I would say is people interested in our products or our test, I'll make a discount code. It's just going to be your name.
Okay.
Dane Pellerino. Did I get the pronunciation of the last
name?
name right?
You did, yeah.
All right, cool. One word, all caps. I'll get that code created for you. And would love to partner with anybody listening. And we're here, even if you just want to pick our brain on some of the stuff we're working on.
Yeah, I will definitely, guys. I want to bring this to my audience for sure. This is one of the most common things guys come in with, right? They've been training for a while and everything's starting to hurt. So that's amazing. The inflammation test is incredible. Like, these are things that really add to that white glove personalized service. It's not a one size fit all solution, right? Like, that's where we align with that. So we'll try it. Ryan and I will come up with a creative way to kind of get this to my clients and build some sort of referral system together so that you guys can also benefit. We'll have this up on YouTube probably in the next couple of days.
Cool.
And we'll share it, and then I'll share it with you guys. And if you want access to the files, we'll give it to you, and you guys can market it as well.
Cool. Dane, I can't wait, man. It was awesome to meet you. I look forward to partnering together.
Yeah, you too, brother. Have a great day.